Hello there. Welcome to Empower Your Soul with me, Nicole. I wanted to talk about my perspective today on small group events. I'm going to keep that kind of neutral because I think it could be anything. It could be psychic, it could be mediumship, it could be like spiritual things. But I have a very strong opinion on this. And I'd love to hear after the episode if this is something you agree with, something you disagree with. Maybe I missed a whole component of what I'm supposed to be saying to you or a whole opinion section. But I just wanted to say, I recently, as in last night, did a very small group event in somebody's house. I don't really do this anymore. But I'm going to go into that in a minute. But it was a really fun event. Like, it was a great group of amazing women. It was a Tuesday night, right? I've had a full work day and then went to this afterwards. But it was a lot of fun. I got to be honest. There was a lot of cheese there. But it was really great to have this intimate small event where I read for a handful of ladies that I've already met before who have already seen me work. So the general vibe of this event was very relaxed, I didn't feel like I needed to prove myself like I typically do when I do these small events. And overall, I would say it was a really successful evening. And it made me think, why am I so resistant to these small group in-person events? So let me rewind on how I got started, because I started doing in-home small group events because I was asked to host a fundraiser or be the headliner, I guess, for lack of a better word. That's not I say that loosely, headliner. I was the only liner for a breast cancer fundraising event. And she essentially, the woman that was running it, asked me to do this. And I think there was going to be 30 people there. And this was relatively new into my mediumship journey. I had done one-on-one readings quite a bit, but I hadn't had the opportunity to do really group readings yet. I actually went to a class for it. I trained, I know how to do it. And by the way, I have a pretty big background in the corporate, as you know. So presentations in front of very large groups, totally normal with it. I'm used to running a room and doing an event, over the course of multiple days. So that doesn't bother me at all. But I said yes to this fundraising event. And then what ended up happening is I was like, okay, crap, I've never actually done a mediumship event before, right? Or a group reading before. This was a first for me. Everything up to that point had been kind of one-on-one sessions. So I actually started preparing for this fundraising event by asking friends if they wanted to host, free in-house small group readings, just to get me used to the environment of reading for multiple people at one time and having shorter readings, right? Because when you're reading people one-on-one, it tends to be, 30 minutes to an hour. And when you are reading in front of people in your group setting, you kind of want to keep those, between 7 to 10 minutes, 15, sometimes it leaks into, but 7 to 15 minutes, you want them to be short so you can fit as many people in as possible. So I started down that journey. I thought it was a really good time. I actually had a couple of friends book some local events for me, again, in their homes, and the group ranged anywhere from 5 people, I think there was maybe a 3-person one at one point, all the way up to 15, 20 people in their homes. So it was a really fun event. But as a medium, I shifted away from this once I started actually booking venues, right? Locations for me to go that have an existing clientele, because it's much easier that way, right? Nobody lives there. The energy is, it is a place where you're supposed to come, you're supposed to do your thing, and you're supposed to go home. I would say it's a little more transient, but that feels a lot more settled to me, and it feels a lot more even keeled in terms of energy, because you have a whole bunch of people's energy coming in all the time. So it almost creates this background murmur. It's like the sound of the fan at night. It's just this background murmur that doesn't bother me at all, because I'm in public spaces all the time. To me, that's a normal feeling. So I really enjoyed, once I hooked up with, my yoga studio, my crystal store, a few other events, being in a public space, I guess is the way that I put it, to do these readings. But what I found with the home events, even though they're really fun, they're really intimate, they're really personal, because it's much more, but I would also say it's much more casual, because the people are there, and it's totally fine. I'm not judging this at all, but there's food, there's drinks, people are coming and going, people are stopping by the house, there might be kids or pets in the house. And there's just a lot more going on where I can't control the environment at all. So maybe that's the key word. I just like literally saw a spirit in my mind underline the word control. I can't control these home environments that I walk into. And as a result, for me, it's a huge challenge to do these groups events because maybe I'm just going to talk about how I feel when I go there is I have, just like I've always said, I have like panic attacks on the way there, right? I have heart palpitations. I don't know the space. I don't know who the people are. Normally one person books me and schedules the day and time and I tell them the price and I show up and they might say there's going to be 10 people there. I don't know who these 10 people are. I don't know anything about them, which is fine. I'm not supposed to. That's not my intention, but I don't know the energy of these people. I don't know if they're all skeptics. I don't know if they all believe in mediumship or they've been to mediums before. And that can create this really unique dynamic of energy. And I feel like I'm whining right now, to be honest with you. Like I want to pause and be like, I want to acknowledge how whiny and annoying I sound because I feel like I'm just making a bunch of excuses. And maybe this is the point of me recording this episode. But for me, I didn't feel comfortable in home environments, even if I knew one or two people. It's not that people were kind, people were offering me food, offering me beverage, like people are very, very gracious. And I understand there's a whole subculture here with like people coming over people's houses for shows and events and things, right? Like I grew up in that time when we had like pearl parties, right? And Tupperware parties. And like, I still get invited to some of these things. So I know this is like a normal mom culture community thing. But as a medium showing up to do an event in person, it just feels odd. It just feels odd in a small environment. Maybe this is because the way I'm doing I'm going to say the show, right? But the way that I'm doing the presentation, because essentially everybody's kind of, I walk in, everyone says hi, everyone kind of gives me that side eye, like, oh, is that the medium? Is that her? I don't know her. That must be the medium, right? And then a couple people are like very shy and don't really want to look you in the eye when you show up. And they're like, oh, would you like anything? I have this, I have this, I have this. Here's the bathroom. Do you need a couple minutes? What do you need? Which is great, right? And then essentially, once I can be like, okay, I think I'm good to go. Everyone kind of grabs their food, grabs their drinks, comes and usually settles on couches in a room that can either be way too big or way too small, or people are separated in different areas. It's a very interesting dynamic. And then I have to stand up in front of everybody and kind of give my spiel, do the readings, and go through and essentially make sure in my book, the way I book them is everyone gets a reading. So everyone shows up, everyone gets a reading. And that can take so much time because of the relaxed lack of formal, or it's not a formal environment, right? Because people are talking at each other, people are getting up, people are, having side conversations, and it's distracting, right? And because I get distracted, I might have to like, hang on, let me get back on track. And then, the person sitting down, someone be like, oh my God, remember that story, right? Which is fine. That's a function of it. But it's almost like I never plan or prepare for how much longer I think it's going to be. I mean, most of these events, even though like last night, 5 women who have seen me before, I know most of them, I think everyone but one person looked familiar. I've actually worked with and had classes with the person who invited me over. So I am very comfortable in this space. I know she's a light worker. I know she's got high vibe. Like the energy of her space is great. There's no kids there. There's no pets there. But at the same time, it took so much time. Like for 5 people last night, I was like, okay, it should be 15 minutes of reading. I should be out of there in, a little over an hour and a half, including the intro and any like last Q&A. I was there for like 2.5 hours. And it's 2, and I'm wiped. And then because I'm an introvert and I go to somebody's house and it's like, I'm friendly, but it's a lot of energy. I'm using my social battery energy. I'm using my mediumship battery energy. By the time I come home, like I am reeling, and even though I'm completely exhausted, I'm completely wired at the same time. And it probably took me till about midnight last night to actually go and fall asleep. Like I think I crawled into bed at 11, but then I was still so wound up that I, surfed on my phone for an hour while my mind just finally settled in and got back to my energy level. My bad. I should have saged myself or cleared my own energy. That one's on me. But it's so interesting to me about that group energy, how different it is. Because when you compare what I'm talking about here to what I'm talking about with larger groups, it's a whole different dynamic. It's a whole different dynamic because when you are with larger groups, it's like we have a start, we have an end. Not everybody's getting a reading. I essentially just trust spirit and bring in what I'm supposed to bring in during that time. The readings generally fall in like the 7 to 15 minute range, depending on how much detail, how long it takes somebody to take the spirit. And it's just much more efficient. I feel like people are very respectful. It feels like a more formal space to me. Like people are quiet. They don't know each other, so there's no sidebar conversations happening. I do always encourage people to validate the information, because part of the fun is not just me getting up there and saying everything and like me talking at you the whole time or to you the whole time and channeling these messages. Part of the fun is hearing how, like, what do you, like, I'm going to say it. I don't mean it this way, but like, did I get it right? Like, give me the information on how I got it right or how I got it wrong. Like, that's part of this, right? It's just fun to be in an environment where you're like, what's she going to say? Was she right? Wow, that's wild. Or, oh, she was so off, right? Like, I understand that there's an entertainment factor there. And I'm here for that because I love those too. I love the entertainment factors too. So it's just really interesting to me how different the home environment is versus the large event, again, public space environment is, because I thrive in the public space environment. Like, and I think I've always have, like, I don't mind being out. I don't mind being around people. I live where there's the largest fair in the US and I go there every time because I love being around the energy of the people. And again, like, it's that hum of people. It's the energy of the people around you. And I, as a projector, as a few of my human design lovely friends have pointed out, like, I absorb the energy, and it's an empath thing too. I absorb the energy of the people around me. So if like there's a whole bunch of excited energy, I get excited and it makes my energy a lot easier to work with. So that's why those larger environments are so great for me as like a projector, as an empath, because once you get a room full of people who are excited, they've paid to see you, they want to see you work. And it's almost like there's exponential energy as a result of it because everybody's energy combines, and I kind of use that energy to lift up mine to reach spirit. Most of the readings can be really, really good, really fast. I fly right through some of them. You know, one night I think I had 10 readings in 90 minutes. I think that's what it was. And it was like, I can fly. I can literally soar off that energy so much that I channel the information and I don't even see it in my clairs. It's just me channeling the whole time, which is the best. It's like the ideal, the gold star of mediumship is I don't waste time interpreting information through my clairs. It just comes out my mouth and I just channel the information straight from spirit. And it, like, usually the evidence is really good and exact, and it's the messages that they want to hear, right? So yeah, I guess I have my gripes with small groups, and you know, that's okay. And I personally struggle with that. I work really hard not to be like a people pleaser, right? But you know, I gotta be honest, there's good money in the small groups, right? There's good money there. Everybody wants to do it. And I can't tell you when I started how many people reached out to me and asked if I do small group readings, like at people's houses. And I know there's a whole freaking subculture for that. Like, people love it. So I want to say, if you are a medium and a psychic that is cool with people's houses and cool with going to people, and you're maybe more extroverted than me and you love meeting new people and having that energy, like, maybe that's for you. And I love that for you because there is so much opportunity there to not only like for you to get income, but also to really help a lot of people that otherwise wouldn't come out of the woodwork and go to these events. We all know that person who would never go to a public event, but they would go to a house if someone else was doing it, right? We all know that person. I'm probably that person in most scenarios. So we all know that person. So I think there's such good that comes from these small group readings, but I have to be honest with you that it ain't for me. It ain't for me. So I will probably continue to focus more on, which is interesting, right? Because I think I may be very atypical. And this is probably a me thing because I grew up in corporate. My job was to essentially lead a group of people to present to top executives, to travel and meet with salespeople and kind of schmooze, right? And have these big conferences where I'm the one presenting the information. And even when I was little, I mean, I would get the solos in elementary school. And people would be like, aren't you afraid that you're going to screw it up? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. I love this. And it's probably the Libra in me. I got to be honest. It's probably the Libra in me that loves being like the center. And I don't want to be like center of attention, but it kind of is like, I don't mind it. It doesn't bother me. I want to do what I want to do. And if I bring people along that are excited about it, cool. I love that. That's amazing. So I'm probably the atypical one that does not mind standing up in front of a large group of people, that actually enjoys the anonymousness, anonymity. Wow. Nope. That word is not happening today. Of going in this large crowd, and like the respect of a large crowd, and being able to make a really big impact, I guess, a big impact with that many people. Even though I can't read everybody, I truly believe that everybody walks away with something, no matter how big the group is. Because when everybody comes to these events, especially the big groups, I'm not going to be able to read everybody, but the coolest thing that Spirit does is has me describe things in a way that it like hits on a ton of people who maybe can't take that specific spirit, but there's a lot they can't take. Or there's one specific thing I said that they're like, that's absolutely my grandfather. Or I say a word or I say a phrase. And like Spirit is so brilliant in that way, where I will get to the person I want to get to, the spirit for whom this person had come, coming forward to. But everybody else in the room should be able to take something from this fun event where everyone sits in this amazing energy. Everyone who hears these amazing messages, this evidence, the love, the advice, and everybody should be taking something away from that. So I think that even though it's not a direct impact, the impact of these big events is very, very important and very valuable for those that go. And by the way, it's entertainment. Oh my gosh. I will go to theaters to see mediums, just because for me, I love that energy. That's my jam. So I need to go buy a ticket because there's one coming up soon. So yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts about how you feel about small groups. And for those of you that have asked me to do a small group session and I've avoided you like the plague, or I haven't responded, this is why. And I know I need to be more direct, but it's not my jam. But I am 100% in if you are doing it in public space, if it's a larger group, if it's, and by the way, when I say larger group, I want it at least 20. Like, and I know like larger ideally goes way bigger than that, but like I don't want to read for under 20. Under 20 feels really weird to me because not everybody gets a reading, right? So this local yoga place that I host at, they can get anywhere. They tend to sell like 11 to 12 tickets ish. That's how big the room is. It's tiny. It's very intimate. So I will walk in and I will feel horrible when 8 out of the 10 or 8 out of the 11 get a reading and the 3 don't. I feel the sadness when it's a small group and someone doesn't get a reading. So I need to change my model a little bit. And I know the girls last night, the women last night were so kind because I kind of threw this by them because they are the ones who met me through that yoga studio. And they're like, we love it. We don't come always to get a reading. We just want to sit in the energy and sit in so maybe I don't have to change a thing. Maybe I just, like the analytical me, I overthink everything. So it's a lot of rambling, but It's my jam. You know it. I just got to get this out. So yeah, I'd love your take on, what do you think about small groups? You think it's good? Like if you're somebody who veers towards the small groups, like why? Is it everything that I said, but you enjoy it? Is it a different reason? And I guess my problem is I cherish my nights and weekends. So if I'm going to go out and spend a night, because I work all day and my kids are gone all day and my husband's gone all day, right? I want to see my family on nights and weekends. So I try to like just do one event that's big that brings in the income so that I don't have to do it every single week. So that's me being a pain in the ass and wanting my private life. But I got to serve myself as well as others. But yeah, let me know. Let me know what your take is. And for those of you that maybe have gone to the small events versus the large event, I'd love to hear what your perspective is. It feels like a lot of my comments come in on YouTube, but I post the previews to these podcasts on all the socials. So just toss me a comment, send me a note on my podcast page on my website, mediumnicole.com, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Take care.